Sarawak continues to strengthen bilateral relations with its neighbouring countries. How does Sarawak benefit from Brunei-Malaysia bilateral relationship? And Malaysia will not tolerate the act of burning any religious books. Those are the headlines for tonight. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Muhammad Yusuf and this is TVS Nightline. Here's our top story for today. Corruption allegations on general election results can be brought to the court for a trial. This was stated by Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri FADILLAH Yusof, who said by filing a court case, the plaintiff must be able to provide evidence. If they are able to do so, FADILLAH said anything that has transpired after the formation of the unity government will be nullified.
Tapi kalau sekadar cakap, saya kira mungkin ramai orang boleh cakap. Tapi nak bawa ke mahkamah itu merupakan venue yang telah diperuntukkan dalam perlembagaan dan segala peraturan kita. Jadi bawalah kalau siapa tak puas hati, itu buktikan bahawa pilihan raya itu patut dibatalkan disebabkan ada amalan-amalan rasuah. Biarlah agensi-agensi itu melaksanakan tugas dan peranan mereka. Dan kalau terbukti untuk membawa siapa-siapa ke muka keadilan.
Earlier on, former Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad tweeted and accused that the 15th general election was the most corrupt election ever held in Malaysia and that bribes were given openly before Malaysians cast their votes. Sarawak will continue to strengthen bilateral relations with countries in the region, specifically neighbouring countries in many fields. Sarawak Premier Datuk Petinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg said good relations with Brunei would serve as a benchmark in gauging Sarawak's capability of cooperating with other countries.
Kita ada 3 negara yang mempunyai kepentingan perhubungan bilateral. Satunya Indonesia. Ketika Perdana Menteri melawat Indonesia di Jakarta, Presiden Jokowi telah menimbulkan mengenai dengan kerjasama kita untuk membangun hidro di Kalimantan Utara, Kalimantan Timur bersama dengan SESCO. Sebab itulah Perdana Menteri berkendakkan input daripada kita. Dan di Brunei memang saya berada di Brunei. Dan satu lagi negara jiran kita ialah Singapura. Kita ada beberapa perkara yang harus dibincang di antara Singapura dengan kita dan juga negara Malaysia lah, Malaysia Singapura. Umpamanya dalam bidang carbon trading. Kita tengoklah kalau Perdana Menteri berkendakkan penyertaan kita daripada Sarawak, kita akan sama-sama ikut.
He said this when met during a Chinese New Year open house organised by the Sarawak Transport Minister, Datuk Sri Lee Kim Shin. According to him, during the Prime Minister's visit to Indonesia recently, Indonesian President Joko Widodo have voiced his wish to develop a hydroelectric dam in East Kalimantan with Sarawak Energy. He added, other countries with bilateral relations with Sarawak include Singapore, particularly in the field of carbon trading. Now, the establishment of the Sarawak Tourism and Trade Office, or STATO Brunei, which was the result of the meeting between Malaysian leaders and their counterparts in Brunei, will benefit Sarawak greatly in both trade and tourism. Deputy Minister in the Premier's Department for Law, MA63 and State Federal Relations, Datuk Sharifah Hasidah Said Aman Ghazali said the establishment is a long-term decision that will foster better bilateral relations with Brunei.
I believe the Premier have also discussed with Brunei for us to produce processed food product which is halal, which can be exported to the Middle East through Brunei. That's why we formed the Sarawak Tourism and Trade Office. So all these are very beneficial to the state of Sarawak, and I think this is a good step towards us working together in terms of trade, in terms of tourism, and many more, and bilateral relationship between Sarawak and Brunei. So this is the beginning of yet another good good collaboration and work with.
Adding further, Hasida said Sarawak plays an important role in bridging the relationship between Malaysia and other countries such as Brunei.
Of course, Sarawak will be the bridge because, as I've mentioned, geographically we are neighbor to Brunei. We're the closest neighbor to Brunei. So I'm sure Malaysia will want the help of Sarawak. Will want to go to Sarawak to have a better relationship with Brunei. And I think all of us, Sarawak, Malaysia, and Brunei can always have collaboration and work, So I think this is the way forward for us.
Similarly, Deputy Minister in the Premier's Department for Corporate Affairs and UKAS, Dato' Abdullah Saidul, said it could contribute to the social and cultural development of the people.
Kesimpulan ringkasnya, kerjasama antara Brunei, Sarawak dan Sabah, 3 wilayah di Pulau Borneo ini penting dari aspek mengukuhkan amalan dan budaya antara jentera kerajaan dan meningkatkan sosioekonomi. Keadaan ini semakin penting bila kerajaan Indonesia akan memindahkan ibu negara mereka ke wilayah jiran iaitu Kalimantan.
Currently, Sarawak is in discussion with Brunei to collaborate in broadcasting as a form of cultural exchange through mass media.
Antara perkara penting dalam cadangan ini ialah untuk pertukaran bahan penyiaran media atau produksi antara dua pihak TV stesen ini. Termasuklah kerjasama dari segi penerbitan produksi-produksi baru yang memaparkan suasana terkini dan tempat menarik di Brunei dan Sarawak. Ini secara tidak langsung akan membantu dari segi promosi pelancongan.
Aside from leisure tourism, Sarawak is also keen on advancing medical tourism. As such, the reopening of Brunei's borders will provide immense opportunities for Sarawak's healthcare development going forward. Professor Dr. Awang Azman Awang Pawi opined that Sarawak's economy will improve following an influx of foreign patients seeking treatment in the region.
Kesihatan. Kita tahu miri kucing misalnya antara merupakan hub yang penting dalam perkhidmatan kesihatan. Jadi ini boleh menggerakkan hubungan dari segi pelancongan kesihatan, iaitu pihak daripada Brunei datang orang penduduk di Brunei datang ke miri kucing untuk tujuan pelancongan kesihatan selepas mereka melakukan pemeriksaan berkala misalnya, mereka membawa keluarga datang dan ini boleh memupukkan di segi ekonomi. Ekonomi bukan berdasarkan ekonomi bersifatkan pelancongan, lawatan sebagainya, tapi menyediakan perkhidmatan seperti kesihatan.
She stressed that the arrival of visitors seeking medical treatment will also help in income generation for the state. Previously, Premier of Sarawak Dato' Padinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg stated that Sarawak has the potential to become a medical tourism hub in the region. He disclosed that Malaysia is listed as one of the world's leading medical tourism destinations, actively promoted by the government through the Malaysia Healthcare Travel Council, and in Sarawak by the Sarawak Tourism Board.
Meanwhile, Malaysia will not tolerate the act of burning any religious book or texts, including the Quran, Bible, and even the Hindu texts. Prime Minister Dato' Sri Anwar Ibrahim said Malaysians value humanity and respect the right of each individual.
Condemning in the strongest terms the act of extremist Danish far-right politician Rasmus Paludan in the burning a copy of the Quran in Sweden, Anwar said there is so much misunderstanding and prejudices against religions in the world, including Islam.
What do you want to prove? That you are secular? You are against Islam? Or you are against religion? But what you actually portray is the degradation of man and values. We in Malaysia will not tolerate not only the burning of the Quran, the burning of the Bible or the Hindu text, because we value humanity.
Therefore, Anwar said he had asked Foreign Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Zamri Abdul Kadir to call the Swedish ambassador and conveyed Malaysia's feeling of disgust towards Swedish tolerance to the burning of the Quran in the country. Rasmus Paludan, leader of the Danish far-right party Stram Kurs, was permitted to burn the Quran last Saturday outside the Turkish embassy in Stockholm, causing the Muslim world to erupt in anger due to the incident.
Now, 3 new assistant ministers took their oath before Sabah Head of State Tun Johar Mahiruddin at Istana Sri Kinabalu earlier today. And its Chief Minister Datuk Sri Panglima Haji Noor said with the new appointments, a reshuffle of the existing assistant ministers was also carried out. And joining us this evening is Amirul Mukminin, who is our correspondent in Sabah. Now, Amirul, could you tell us what transpired today?
Thank you, Yusuf. Yes, it is true that 3 state assemblymen of Sabah were appointed as assistant of Sabah government earlier today. The 3 assemblymen, or Adun Datuk Ruslan Muharram, representing Lubadan, who is also the vice president of Parti Bersatu Sabah (PBS), and Tan Lifat from DAP, who is the assemblyman for Likas, and Peter Gadim, a member of PKR, is now the assemblyman of Inadam. As what has transpired previously, these 3 assemblymen were appointed following the reshuffling of Sabah cabinet by Datuk Sri Haji Noor, in which we have also witnessed both Shah Helmi Yahya and Datuk Sri Panglima Masidi Manjun as the 3rd Deputy Chief Minister and Finance Minister respectively. Even so, political analysis said Dr. Lee Kwok Tiong, the power of struggle in Sabah, continue to coexist, and to address this matter, an UMNO Supreme Council meeting will be held in the near future by Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi himself, and there were also rumours about potential Sabah state election being held for Sabah, predicted to be happen in May of 2023. That's all from Yusuf. Amir Waminin for TVS Sabah. Thank you.
Thank you, Amirul. I hope you have a better lighting next time you go live on our news. Thank you so much for the details. And moving on, Malaysia will hold a meeting with its Indonesian counterpart to discuss the Republic's intention to have its own crude palm oil or CPO benchmark price. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Fadillah Yusof said the matter needs to be discussed jointly as Indonesia's plans will affect the entire global oil palm industry chain. Fadillah said the meeting is slated to take place in the 2nd week of February.
Fadillah, who is also the Minister of Plantation and Commodities, said Indonesia intends to establish its CPO benchmark price before June and will no longer have to depend on Kuala Lumpur.
Apa pun berlaku, ianya kena dibincang secara bersama, dan apa pun dilakukan oleh Indonesia sudah pasti ianya akan memberi kesan kepada keseluruhan rantaian, bukan saja kepada Malaysia dan di peringkat dunia. Sebab itu kita kena berbincang untuk melihat bagaimana ianya bukan saja memanfaatkan negara kita, bukan saja memanfaatkan pengusaha-pengusaha termasuk pengembun kecil, tapi bagaimana keseluruhan dunia boleh memanfaatkan.
Currently, Indonesia is the world's largest palm oil producer, producing almost 50 million tons of CPO annually. On January 12, Malaysia Palm Oil Board MPOB Director General Datuk Dr. Ahmad Parviz Gulam Kadir said the CPO price this year is expected to fall between 4,000 ringgit and 4,200 ringgit per ton, compared with 5,000 ringgit and 87.50 cents a ton in 2022. Additionally, he said the 2 countries will also discuss issue of the European Union's ban and trade barriers imposed on palm products. Meanwhile, on the labor shortages in the oil palm sector, he said the agri-commodity industry still needs around 63,000 foreign workers, adding that the labor shortages had severely impacted the industry and resulted in an estimated losses of 20 billion ringgit last year. Nonetheless, he is confident that the agri-commodity trade performance this year would remain positive despite a 1.1% drop in 2022. Now,
Education Minister Fadillah Sidek said that her ministry is keeping an eye on the flood situation in the country, especially those involving schools. She said preparations are in place should floods occur, and the ministry is now monitoring the flood situation from time to time. And to get insights on the matter, we have our reporter, Febright James, who is currently in Miri with the lowdown. Febright, over to you.
That's right, Yusuf. Earlier this afternoon, Education Minister FADILLAH informed that several schools in a few states are affected by flood, and among them are Johor, Kelantan and Sabah. She said Operations Centre was set up to monitor the flood situation. And some schools are designated as temporary relief centres, PPS, should the unavoidable happen. Here are some of her remarks from earlier today during her work visit to SK Sungai Liam and SK Lepong Ajai.
Saya ingat yang penting adalah persiapan. Kita sebenarnya kalau setakat semalam 3 negeri lah yang sudah pun kita buat persiapan berkaitan dengan banjir, tapi memang Johor yang paling kritikal ketika ini. Dari segi KPM kita satu bilik gerakan pemantauan banjir, yang kedua adalah PPS lah. Kita memang telah pun bersedia PPS untuk sebarang kemungkinan. Yang tertinggi di Johor lah. Sekarang ini untuk
yang terlibat banjir 35
sekolah rendah dan satu sekolah menengah. PPS 23 untuk sekolah rendah, 5 sekolah menengah.
During the visit, Fadlina said both schools are categorized as sekolah kurang murid, or school with low enrollment of students, with the majority of them staying in longhouse. Because of its proximity to the river, SK Lepong Ajai is often flooded, resulting in damage to its facilities. After visiting, her ministry has agreed to donate 150,000 ringgit each to both schools. And that's it, all the update I have for Yusuf. James for TVS Miri.
Thank you, Febright. Now, coming up right after the break, Tegas empowers talents through more collaboration, and Australia goes on a mass protest. Right here on TVS Nightline. Stay tuned. Thank you for staying with us. Police have successfully arrested the main suspect in a recent armed robbery at an eatery located in Jalan Stutong, Kuching, early on Wednesday morning. Kuching Police Chief ACP Asmon Baja told reporters the 36-year-old male suspect was picked up around 9:30 p.m. on the same day.
Ekoran daripada itu dengan kebijaksanaan dan perancangan daripada tim kami, semalam kita telah menangkap suspek. Satu lelaki tempatan berumur 36 tahun. Yang menariknya, suspek ini memang dalam senarai kita dan confirm dia memiliki 7 kes lampau. Yang lainnya itu berkaitan dengan dadah dan juga berkaitan dengan kes-kes kecurian harta benda.
On Wednesday, footage from a closed-circuit television CCTV showing the robbery at the eatery went viral on social media. During the 4:45 a.m. incident, 2 masked men were seen entering the coffee shop, with one of them brandishing a parang and threatening workers and customers. The eatery in question was reported to have incurred losses of up to 2,000 ringgit. The case is being investigated under Section 395/397 of the Penal Code for armed gang robbery, which carries a jail term of up to 20 years and whipping upon conviction. Ashman said the suspect will be remanded to facilitate investigations and to find out whether he was involved in other criminal activities. Meanwhile, efforts to locate his accomplice are still underway.
Mentabung ekonomi gagasan anak Sarawak or TEGAS through its Digital Village and Digital Innovation Hub is partnering with Yayasan Peneraju Pendidikan Bumiputra or YPPB for the 2023 TEGAS Tech Immersion Program TTIP. Deputy Minister of Urban Planning, Land Administration and Environment, Datuk Lim Talif Saleh, said the program seeks to empower unemployed and fresh graduates interested in digital innovation and entrepreneurship by providing tech skilling experience and connecting tech talents more readily with new job opportunities. The program will run from March until August of this year. The program was first introduced as a pilot program in 2022. Participants will have the opportunity to fully immerse themselves in startup culture and be in charge of projects such as developing digital marketing strategies and campaigns, as well as designing and developing new products. Len, who is also TEGAS chairman, said it gained the support from YPPB, who became TEGAS's first strategic partner for the program in 2023. YPPB is an agency that has been mandated to produce quality Bumiputra talents in high-income economies through academic education, technical and vocational education and training TVET, professional, technology and specialist certifications funding programs. To date, it has trained over 46,000 talents nationwide. The first cohort will see collaboration with TEGAS ecosystem partners and program alumni, namely Petronas Digital, Mordor, ERM Planet, Future Lab, Cloena Digital, UAS Mapping, Borneo Digital, Timogah, Satok Bridge Digital, and more. The program is open to unemployed and fresh graduates Sarawakian Bumiputra with a cumulative grade point average or CGPA of 2.50 and above. Applications are now open and only 20 participants will be selected. Eligible and interested participants can apply for this program at the website shown on screen. Now, SEDC Energy, a subsidiary of Sarawak Economic Development Corporation, SEDC, has signed an agreement with Petronas Research Sendirian Berhad to develop technology for microalgae oil production. Under the agreement, both entities will jointly develop algae production technology, which includes cultivation, harvesting and extraction of crude algae oil that will later be refined to produce sustainable aviation fuel or SAF. Both parties will also dive deep into the commercial production requirements for crude algae oil, including developing algae strains with high oil content at a competitive production cost. SADC Chairman Tan Sri Abdul Aziz Hussein said, aside from the development of Sarawak's hydrogen economy, SEDC also acknowledged the significance of alternative low-carbon initiatives as the world transitions from conventional hydrocarbon fuels, saying that it has always been Sarawak's interest to explore as many solutions as possible to mitigate carbon emissions. And on to some global updates. Thousands of Australians gathered to protest the country's National Day celebration in support of Indigenous people, many of whom described the anniversary of when the British sailed into Sydney Harbour as Invasion Day. In Sydney, protesters were seen rallied in the Central Business District, where some people carried Aboriginal flags and an Indigenous smoking ceremony took place.
Well, I think it's really important that we come out and protest today and show support in any way we can for Indigenous Australians. It's actually the 85th day of mourning this year, so our Indigenous Australians have been protesting this for 85 years. It's not really televised, but it's been going on for so long. So, yeah, I think it's important that we show up and we mourn with them and, yeah, stand in solidarity, I guess.
The protest comes as the Albanese centre-left Labour Party government plans a referendum to recognise Indigenous people in their constitution and require consultation with them on decisions that could affect their lives. However, many Indigenous Australians are not supportive of the move, feeling that they are still not being listened to, a theme that was central to many of the protests held around the country. An annual poll by market research company Roy Morgan released this week showed nearly two-thirds of Australians said January 26 should be considered Australia Day, largely unchanged from a year ago, while the rest believe it should be Invasion Day.
Now, regions across China are currently facing blizzards, frozen shorelines and snow-filled roads as extreme cold weather continues to grip the country. Multiple localities issued orange alerts for the extreme weather, with red being the most serious in China's four-tier weather warning system.
Local media in China reported that Wuyi Mountains National Nature Reserve in Fujian province has been hit by snowstorms since Tuesday. Another province in China, the coastal area of Lianyungang in Jiangsu, has reported abnormally low temperatures at -10 Celsius. The extreme cold weather started over the weekend, with the country's northernmost city Mohe reporting its coldest temperatures on record at -53 degrees Celsius on Sunday. Meanwhile, freezing temperatures in Afghanistan have caused the deaths of 124 people earlier this week, as Japan also suffered a storm that may have caused the death of 3 people. The cold front, which has hit much of North Asia, has seen heavy snow blanketing parts of Japan and abnormally cold temperatures across Afghanistan and South Korea. The bitter weather is expected to continue through Thursday, January 26.
Wrapping up the Nightline, the United States is poised to start a process that would eventually send dozens of M1 Abrams battle tanks to Ukraine. Such a decision by the US would come just days after Washington argued against sending the Abrams, despite demands from Kiev and public pressure from Berlin, as it faced calls to send German-made Leopard battle tanks.
A source familiar with the matter said the US commitment could total about 30 Abrams tanks to be delivered over the coming months. US officials said the tanks would likely be procured through a fund known as the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative. The initiative allows President Joe Biden's administration to get weapons from industry rather than from existing U.S. weapons stocks. Ukraine says heavily armored Western battle tanks would give its troops more mobility and protection ahead of an expected new Russian offensive. They could also help Ukraine retake some of the territory that has fallen to Russia. However, U.S. officials said the Abrams tanks were tough to maintain and hard to train Ukrainians to operate and ran on jet fuel, making it a poor choice for this phase of the war. The U.S. and its allies felt during talks in Germany last week to convince Berlin to provide its Leopard battle tanks to Ukraine, a key demand from Kiev as it tries to breathe new momentum into its fight against Russian force.
And that's all the time we have for tonight's TVS Nightline. Once again, I'm Ahmad Yusuf. It's been a pleasure.